Hello, everyone. Welcome. So, is it too early for Halloween? I hope not, because I have some really adorable Halloween cutting dies to show you. These are witch cutting dies. Let me show you these two new sets from Spellbinders. First, we have the Fiona the Dancing Witch. There are 13 dies in this set, and this makes up the cutest interactive witch card. And it reminded me a lot of playing with paper dolls because you're creating this cute little girl witch. And next, I have a really pretty one called Witchin' Heels. And it is the silhouette of this witch on the broom, and it's such a daintily drawn witch. She's so pretty. And then it comes with little shoes that you can layer on her feet, as well as a hat and a pumpkin. So I'm going to start out with the Fiona the Dancing Witch. The hardest thing for me to do is to figure out what colors of cardstock I want to use. So I kind of pre-planned my cardstock. I have it all set out. I just need to run it through my Scout machine. The Scout machine is great because you can run many dice through at once. In the past, I've used the Sizzix Sidekick machine, and I still love it. I'm not getting rid of that one. But the plates are a lot shorter, so the space was very limited on that. But as you can see here, I'm running a bunch of dice through at once. When I have a lot of dice like this, I do like to tape them down. But here is the witch's dress and hat, and the collar for around her neck. And once I have all of my pieces ready to go, I'll start putting this witch together. I do change out some of the colors of the cardstock, but that's normal for me. I'm always changing the colors as I work on the card. I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending. I have some tea dye distress ink, and I'm going to shade her face. This will add some depth and dimension to the little doll, or witch. I'm also going to add some double-sided adhesive behind her eyes and behind her cheeks. This way I can inset her eyes and cheeks. So I did go ahead and cut out the headpiece 2 more times, once with black and once with pink. And then I can just add the pink dye over her face and line them up, and then I can just pop the cheeks in place. And I'll do the same with her black eyes. These are such little pieces that it's hard to deal with them or work with them. I find that this is the easiest way to do this. For her hair, I'm going to add a little bit of a darker pink. This is Festive Berries, just at the bottom of either side of her hair. Now I can glue her hair on. And I did cut out her dress with some orange cardstock instead of the white. Let's glue her dress on. You can see that I colored the first attempt with some black and pink ink. I liked the orange better. And her hat comes in 2 pieces, and you'll want to just glue the tips or the edges of her hat onto the bottom piece. This way you can kind of put it over her head. It'll just insert right onto her head. So it looks so cute. Now I'll attach this with some glue. And now for her hands. Her hands were so little that I didn't bother adding any shading to them. I added a dab of glue on each hand, and now I can just pick up the dress and just pick up the hands with the dress like so. And you'll want to make sure the hands are kind of at the top of her sleeves so they look like they're hanging down. And now for her cute pink and black tights. This die set is so clever. I decided to cut her legs out with black instead of orange. And then I'll glue on the pink stripes. There is a ribbon for her hat, and I cut that out with more orange. Now for her cute shoes. These I'll just pick up with my pickup stick and attach these to her legs. So this is a very easy die set to put together, as you can see. Next, I'll add the buckle to the front of her hat. You can also add this buckle to her shoes if you want. But I cut that out with some brushed gold, and I'll dab it off before I attach it to the ribbon on her hat. And now for her collar on her dress. There are two more pieces for the bodice of her dress, and I think these are little laces or ties. All of these small touches just add up to make the overall finished product of this witch so adorable. So I'm using every single die on this witch. The set even includes 2 teeny circle dies for her shoes. Kind of reminds me of Tinkerbell with the little puffs on her shoes. I'm going to glue those on next. I cut these out with more of the brushed gold cardstock. And then I'm going to put together her broom. I cut the stick out with some dark brown timber, and the brush part I cut out with more of the brushed gold. I'll glue the dark brown tie on first. And then I'll attach the brush to the stick. If you have even some pumpkin dies or a cat die in your stash, that would be cute to add to your card with this little witch. For her dress, I'm going to add some crackling campfire distress oxide ink to the bottom. I get out a smaller stencil brush so that I can go around her wrists. This is a dark orangey red color, and it adds a really cute touch to the dress. I'm going to put her aside for a few minutes and work on a background for her. For the background, I'm using the Better Press Club Kit for the month of August. This set is called Colorful Bold Splatters. I thought this was a really fun kit. So for the background, I'm going to ink up these splatters with black ink. And I'm using a piece of dark blue cardstock. This is called Cosmic Sky. I'll run this through the Platinum 6 very slowly so the ink has time to absorb into the paper. The background is going to be kind of subtle, but this navy blue cardstock looks really cute with the pink and the orange of the witch. I'm going to add a little more of the black ink around the edges of this panel. This just makes it look a little more dramatic. This also helps draw your eyes to the middle of the panel, where I'm going to be gluing the witch down. And it kind of provides a little spotlight for her. The sentiment comes from the Dance in Halloween sentiments that came out last year. And I'm going to use this one on a piece of white cardstock. It says, "Have a frightfully sweet Halloween." I'll ink this up with some VersaFine Onyx black ink. And I do stamp this out a few times. I'll let this ink dry, and then I am going to cut around it with my scissors. I don't think there is a coordinating die set for these sentiments. Now let's put this card together. I'm going to use some foam squares behind the witch's hat and head and the top portion of her dress. I'm not going to put any foam squares around her legs because I don't want to interfere with her legs swinging back and forth. I'll cut some of these foam squares in half so that they can fit on her arms. I like to have a lot of coverage with the foam squares so that when I send it through the mail, it doesn't get crushed. Okay, so let's center the witch on the panel. The next time I use this die set, I'm going to remember to attach her legs to the panel first, and I'll show you why here in just a minute. But I'm going to put a foam square behind the broom to cut it down just a little bit to fit. And when I attach this to her hand, I'll use a little bit of glue, but I want to make sure it's out of the way of her legs so that they can swing back and forth. And I forgot to take the backing off of the foam square. There we go, and I'll glue it to her hand. Now I'm going to need to tuck her legs under her dress. And you can see the circle at the top of her legs. I need to put a foam square right there so that they can swing. I'll use, of course, a smaller foam square for that. I just have to gently peel up the dress so I can put that foam square down. So next time I am going to attach her legs first. But look how cute this is. They swing back and forth. The sentiment I'm going to put right over her dress. And then I can attach this to a top-folding white card base. And let me give you a close-up look at card number 1. Isn't she just cute with her pink hair and her pink tights? I love this dice set. It was so fun to play with. And let me show you how her legs swing back and forth. For card number 2, I'm starting out with die cutting again. I'm using some glitter cardstock from Spellbinders, some hot pink and a black one. I already cut out the silhouette of the witch with some black cardstock. And now I need to die cut her shoes and the pumpkin and the hat. I'm cutting out the pumpkin with some orange cardstock so that I can layer it onto the yellow piece. It looks like there is a candle in it. And then I'll cut it out with some green cardstock for the stem. And of course, I used the black glitter cardstock for the hat. There are a lot of different colors of glitter cardstock in the Spellbinders shop. So you could make her shoes whatever color you want. Some bright red ones would be really cute. I'm going for the hot pink ones today. Here is the yellow pumpkin. The stem of this pumpkin you can put on the broom, the witch's broom, and it looks really cute. But of course I want the stem to be green, so I'm going to cut it out with green cardstock. This is fern green. There are only 5 dies to this set, but it is such a well thought out, cute little set. Okay, now let's put everything together. I really like that the back of this glitter cardstock is paper. That makes it very easy to glue down. It's not going to take a long time to dry. Now for her shoes. These are so cute and little, but they sure stand out with this hot pink glitter cardstock. And I wasn't sure which shoe went on which foot, and I really don't think it matters. So you'll see me switching them out here. This would be a great set for mass producing cards. And I think it would be really fun to change out the color of the witch's shoes and her hat. The black glitter cardstock hat is really subtle on the black silhouette, but you can see a little bit of a sparkle. I think I could have used a hot pink hat, and that would have looked really pretty too. Next, I'm going to layer up the pumpkins. So I'll put the orange pumpkin on top of the yellow piece. And then I'm going to snip off the yellow stem. Maybe I should have used a orange glitter pumpkin as well. And then I'm going to glue this to the green pumpkin. And that piece is ready to go. I'm going to put these pieces aside for a few minutes and work on the background panel. I'm starting out by using a 3-inch circle die to cut out some Post-it note masks. This Post-it note paper is the full sticky back. And I'm going to cut out 2 just in case. I'm going to keep the negative piece for later. I used 2 pieces of Post-it note, and I'm glad I did because the Post-it note on the bottom picked up a lot of little paper bits, and so it wasn't as sticky. So I'll use the top one for this card. And this is going to protect this piece of white 80-pound cardstock. It's Nina Solar White, while I do a little bit of ink blending. I'm using some Distress Oxide inks. I'll start out with Salvaged Patina right around the moon. I think I need to re-ink my Salvaged Patina. It's looking kind of dry. And once I go all the way around the moon with the Salvaged Patina, I'm going to move on to the Broken China ink next. Then I'll go around the Salvaged Patina with this one. Once I get enough ink on the paper, I can go back and forth between the 2 colors to get a smooth blend. Not looking very smooth yet, but it will. These inks are so creamy and fun to play with. A lot of people use the Bristol Smooth cardstock with their inks, and that's a great cardstock to use because it has a coating on it that makes it even easier to blend. But I didn't have any of that in my stash, so that's why I'm using 80-pound Nina Solar White. The next color I'm using is Uncharted Mariner. I'll smooth out these colors, and then I'm going to bring in an even darker blue called Prize Ribbon. I wanted this panel to be just a little bit darker and a lot more dramatic, but I love the teal colors of this panel. My last color is Black Soot, and I'm just going to go around the very edges of the whole panel with this. This really makes it look like a nighttime scene. I'm using my Splatter White opaque watercolor from Spellbinders to add some splatter to the night scene. Look like stars. This small brush made really big dots. And then I'm going to use another brush. This is a little bit bigger, and it's going to make some finer or smaller splatters on this panel. I am adding a little bit of water to my mixture, and I'm just kind of tapping it with my finger. I'll put that aside to dry, and now I'm going to work on a sentiment. I couldn't decide which sentiment I wanted to use, so I'll stamp out both. I'm using some Versamark ink to do this, and I prepped my black cardstock with anti-static powder. Now I can pour over some white embossing powder. I'm using the same stamp set that I used on card number 1. But these sentiments will say Happy Halloween and a Halloween hello. I allowed my heating tool to warm up for 60 seconds. Now I can bring it to the paper and melt the embossing powder. once the embossing has cooled, I'll bring in a tissue just to wipe off the anti-static powder. Then I'm going to cut these out with a sentiment strip die. I'll tape the die in place and cut it out, and then I can just run it through my Scout machine. At the end of this video, I'll link the video that I created last year using this stamp set and the adorable Halloween dies that went along with it. Those were all from the Dance and Halloween collection too, and they were so adorable. So now let's pull off the mask. This is the fun part. I'm using my all-in-one tool to pry it up a little bit. And it looks beautiful just like that. It looks really bright and glowing. However, I am going to add a little bit of color to the moon. I'll put on the negative piece, protect the edges, and I'm going to add some tumbled glass, as well as some antique linen up at the top. I'm not going to ink it in very dark, but once these two colors meet, it's going to create a pretty green color, just in one place up at the top. I've added more Post-it notes just to protect the edges of my inked panel. And then I can peel off the masks. And look how pretty that is. Okay, so let's glue down the witch silhouette. Trying not to add too much glue because I don't want any of it oozing out from behind her and ruining the ink blending. I'll find where I want to glue her down, and I'll just press her right down. I'm not going to wiggle this at all if I can help it. And now for the pumpkin. Just want it hanging off the back of the broom. I'll use liquid glue to glue this down as well. And then I kind of drop it, but fortunately I didn't get any glue smeared on the ink. There we go. And now I can attach it to a top folding card base. I'm going to use some tape runner for this. And all I have left to do is put on the sentiment. This would be a really fast card to recreate if you had pattern paper that you were going to use behind the witch silhouette. But it really was fun doing the ink blending of the night sky. I'll glue down the sentiment flat at the bottom of the card. I'm not going to add any embellishments to this card, as the stars, the splatter stars, kind of embellish it all on its own. And here's a close-up look at card number 2 using the die set called Witchin' Heels. I'll have all of the products that I used to create these 2 cards listed in the description box if you want to check them out. These 2 die sets are part of a collection called the Happy Haunting Collection, and I'll link all of the products from this collection in the description box as well. I hope you all enjoyed today's projects, and I hope you make the time to sit down and create some fun cards of your own. Until next time, bye!